Hello everybody, this is Flexi here for another video. In this video I'll be doing a Destruction Warlock patch 4.2 DPS guide. I hope you enjoy. Alright guys, so starting off with, we are going to go through the PvE spec of the Destruction Warlock DPS. Alright, so as always you want to spec into the top. Of course these are just self-explanatory. And then we have Ember Storm, which reduces the cast time of your Soulfire by 1 second, and your Incinerate, which is a handy thing to have, and of course, why wouldn't you want that? Next we have Aftermath, and it will make your Rain of Fire have a 12% chance to stun targets for 2 seconds, and your Conflagrate has a 100% chance to daze the target. So basically, if you use Conflagrate, it will make the mobs coming towards you a lot slower. This is more of a PvP talent, which will also be good for PvE. So yeah. Alright, here we have improved Soulfire, and it will of course improve your damage by your fire and shadow damage done by 8%, and basically you just use your Soulfire and it will improve your fire and shadow damage. So if you use Incinerate or Conflagrate, it will make that even more powerful by 8%. Here we have Backdraft, and basically when you cast your Conflagrate, the cast time for the next 3 Shadow Bolts, Incinerates and Chaos Bolts will reduce by 30%, which is more like a haste buff, and it's really worth it, so I advise speccing to that. Next we have Shadow Burn, which will return all of your Soul Stones if you kill the target in the time that you use it. This is again more of a PvP talent, but is also a very handy spell to use for PvE as well. Then we have Burning Embers, and it will basically make your Soulfire and your Imp's Firebolt cause a Burning Ember damage over time effect on the target equal to 30% of the damage done, lasting 7 seconds. So I think it's basically like a dot kind of thing. And after that we have Empowered Imp, which will it's basically more like Soulburn, but it's a free cast, and it will proc every now and then, and it will allow you to do a instant Soulfire, which is very handy. Then we have, I don't think I've done Soul Leech yet, so your Shadow Burn, Soulfire and Chaos Bolt immediately restore 4% of your total health and mana when they deal damage, and also grant replenishment. So replenishment grants up to 10 party or raid members mana regeneration equal to 1% of their maximum mana per 10 seconds. So it's just basically free mana regeneration, and it's really worth getting, so definitely spec into that. After that we have Nether Ward, which is basically even better than Shadow Ward, and it absorbs 9,523 spell damage, and it lasts 30 seconds, and basically obviously once that's up, it's up. And then you have under that Nether Protection, which isn't needed at all, and it's not really worth using your talents into it. Then we have Shadow Fury, which is basically a free stun, and yeah, it's pretty fucking helpful, but I wouldn't advise using it all the time, because obviously you could be using your DPS instead of that. It's just more of a useful, obviously it's for PvP, but it's more useful for maybe getting mobs off you. Then we have Fire and Brimstone, which increases the damage done by your Incinerate and Chaos Bolt spells to targets affected by your Immolate by 6%, and the critical strike chance of your Conflagrate spell is increased by 15%, so yeah, that's obviously another bit of common sense there. Then we have Bane of Havoc, which is very helpful for when you're doing a boss and you're killing the ads. Basically you use this on the boss, and once you obviously start nuking the ads, it will put, I believe, 15% of the damage onto the boss as well. So it's basically kind of like Soul Swap. But yeah, it's just in a single dot, and yeah, very handy to get some nice DPS there. And obviously finally we have Shadow Bolt, which pierces through all of the bubbles that you can use in PvP, but also a very handy nuke there, and a pretty hasty spell. Alright, so now we're moving on to the Demonology tree, and we get to Dark Arts, which reduces the cast time of your Imp's Firebolt spell by 0.75 seconds. Very handy piece of talent there. and it also increases the damage done by your Fel Guard's Legion Strike by 15% and increases the damage done by your Fel Hunter's Shadow Bite by 15%, but obviously as a Destruction Warlock DPS we are going to focus on using our Imp. Here we have Fel Synergy, and basically you have a 100% chance to heal your pet for 15% of the amount of spell damage done by you, which will be a very handy thing while you're doing your DPS. You will be healing your pet at the same time, so it's quite nice, so you don't have to raise your pet every so often. Then we have Mana Feed, which when your summon demon critically hits when its basic attack, you instantly gain 4% total mana. So basically when you when your demon crits, it will instantly give you 4% of your total mana, which is very handy there. And then, of course, lastly we have Improved Corruption, which increases the damage done by your corruption by 12%. Alright guys, so now we're gonna move on to the glyphs. Basically, the main glyph that you will need to use is the Glyph of Conflagrate, and this is mainly because it will keep up your flow of being a Destruction Warlock, and it will keep up the rotation. Without this, you really won't be a good Destruction Warlock with PvE at all. Moving on to the next prime glyph, which will be the Glyph of Imp, and this is a very straightforward glyph which is pretty obvious, and basically it will just improve the Imp's Firebolt spell damage by 20%, which is pretty much needed. And also we will use the Glyph of Immolate, which will also increase the periodic damage of the Immolate by 10%, which will basically, yeah, just increase the damage over time by 10%. Then we have the glyphs, which are the next one down, which are the major. So these are ones which matter by second, and some of them actually do matter. So a really cool one is Glyph of Shadow Claim, which will be used to get mobs away from you, and it basically just applies a 70% movement speed slow to its victims. So yeah, there's any mobs on you, then you can just use that, get them away from you, get the tank to get them off you. So yeah, Glyph of Fear is a need, and basically everyone, if you do a heroic and people ask you to CC a mob, then this Glyph of Fear is what you need, and it will basically make it so fear basically makes them tremble in place, the mobs, instead of run around, which will make them not pull any other mobs. So yeah, sort of just doing a bot raid. And Glyph of Life Tap, which will basically obviously reduce the global cooldown by 0.5 seconds. And just down here you can have whatever you want. So yep, next part's going to be about the gear and enchanting and gemming, so I will see you on the next video. Bye.